What time is it right now? You probably know within a minute, maybe within seconds. You glanced at your phone, your watch, the corner of your screen. You didn't even think about it. Now here's the question nobody asks. Who decided that? For most of human history, every town kept its own time. Your noon was your noon. The town 40 miles away had a different noon. Nobody agreed. Nobody needed to. And then, something happened that made that completely unworkable. The people who fixed it didn't just set the clocks. They decided whose time would become everyone's time. This is the story of how time was invented, and why the version you're living in belongs to someone. Start with the sun. For most of human history, the sun was the clock. It rises, it moves, it sets. Farmers, soldiers, merchants, all of them told time by shadow and light and nothing else. The sundial formalizes this. Ancient Egypt, around 1500 BC, a stick in the ground casts a shadow, and the shadow tells you where you are in the day. Water clocks follow, hourglasses, candles marked at intervals. The medieval church develops the canonical hours, a structured schedule of prayer that required bells to be rung at set times, which means someone had to keep track of the time, which means someone had to be trusted to do that accurately. The mechanical clock arrives in Europe in the 13th century. Suddenly, you don't need the sun at all. You can keep time indoors, at night, in winter. The first clocks go in church towers. One clock, one official time, broadcast to everyone within earshot of the bells. This clock in the tower is never neutral. Whoever controls it decides when the workday starts, when the market opens, when the curfew begins. The clock isn't just measuring time, it's enforcing it. For centuries, every town runs on its own local time, set by its own clock, in its own tower, answerable to nobody else. This is perfectly fine, until the trains arrive. By the 1840s, Britain has a working national rail network, and immediately, a disaster. Picture a passenger in Bristol in 1843. He checks his watch, walks to the platform, and watches his train pull away. He wasn't late, not by Bristol time, but the railway runs on London time, and London time is 10 minutes ahead. His watch was right, the train was right, they just weren't right together. This is happening everywhere. Every town the train passes through is running on its own local solar time. Bristol, 10 minutes behind London. Norwich, 5 minutes ahead. Leeds, somewhere else entirely. Every station has its own clock, and every passenger is trying to catch a train scheduled in someone else's time. Timetables are impossible to print, connections are impossible to plan, and collisions, actual physical collisions between trains on shared track, become a real danger because two station masters in different towns have different ideas about what time it currently is. In 1840, the Great Western Railway makes a unilateral decision. All its stations will run on London time. Other railways follow, some don't. For years, British train stations have two clocks on the wall, one showing local time, one showing railway time. Passengers have to know which platform runs on which system. By 1847, the Railway Clearinghouse recommends all railways adopt Greenwich Mean Time. By 1880, Parliament makes it law. This is not a scientific decision, it is a political one. Greenwich is not the center of Britain. It is not the center of Europe. It is not the center of anything, except the fact that Britain is the dominant industrial and naval power on Earth, and Greenwich is where Britain keeps its official observatory. Every clock in the country, synchronized to one point, one meridian, one empire's choice. Time, for the first time, is an institution. Somebody owns it. While Britain solved its own problem, the rest of the world still had one. By the 1880s, railroads and telegraph cables are connecting countries that have never needed to coordinate before. The United States alone has over 50 different local times in active use. Shipping companies, telegraph operators, and international train schedules are drowning in incompatible clocks. In 1884, 25 nations send delegates to Washington, D.C. for the International Meridian Conference. The agenda is simple. Pick a single prime meridian, 0 degrees longitude, from which all the world's time zones would be calculated. It should have been a technical question. It becomes a political one immediately. France proposes a neutral meridian, a line through the middle of the Atlantic, somewhere with no national claim, somewhere that belongs to everyone. Britain proposes Greenwich. The argument Britain makes isn't about power, it's about practicality. More than 70% of the world's shipping already uses charts based on Greenwich. Switching would mean reprinting an enormous amount of navigation material. The cost is prohibitive. The choice is obvious. This is how incumbent systems win, not by being the best option, by being the most expensive to replace. 22 nations vote for Greenwich. 2 abstain. 1 votes against. France is the 1 vote against. In protest, France refuses to officially adopt Greenwich Mean Time for another 27 years. French clocks are set to Paris Mean Time, retarded by 9 minutes and 21 seconds, which is, in practice, Greenwich Mean Time, described in a way that avoids admitting it. The world now runs on a single meridian, and that meridian runs through the backyard of a telescope in southeast London. In 1905, a British builder named William Willett noticed that the summer sun had been up for hours and most of London was still asleep. He became obsessed. Move the clocks forward in spring, back in autumn. Use more daylight, save coal. Give working people more light in the evenings. He printed pamphlets. He argued with committees. Parliament refused. Willett died in 1915, still having never seen his idea implemented. 1 year later, Germany introduced it. Not because of Willett, because it was 1916 and the First World War was consuming coal and resources at a catastrophic rate. Britain followed within weeks, then France, then the United States in 1918. After the war, most countries dropped it. Then came World War II, and it came back, and then it never fully left. The evidence on health is damning. The Monday after clocks spring forward sees measurable spikes in heart attacks, traffic accidents, and workplace injuries. Real spikes, documented year after year. The farming lobby, often credited with creating daylight saving time, actually opposed it from the beginning. Cows don't care what the clock says. The European Union voted to abolish it in 2019. Member states still haven't agreed on which permanent time to keep. It persists because changing it requires political agreement, and political agreement, it turns out, is harder than inventing time zones in the first place. For most of history, time was defined by astronomy. 1 second was a fraction of the solar day, the time it takes Earth to rotate once. The problem: Earth's rotation is not perfectly consistent. It slows, it wobbles. As a timekeeping device, the planet is imprecise. In 1967, the international scientific community redefines the second. 1 second is now defined as exactly this. Think of it this way. Your phone's clock drifts by about a second per day. An atomic clock drifts by 1 second every 300 million years. We didn't just build a better clock. We built something in a completely different category. The GPS network depends on atomic clocks. Financial markets depend on them. The difference of a single microsecond in a trading timestamp, 1/1,000,000th of a second, can move millions of dollars. But atomic time drifts from solar time, slowly, imperceptibly. So since 1972, the world has periodically added a leap second to keep them aligned. 27 have been added so far. In 2012, 1 leap second, a single extra second inserted into the global clock, crashed Reddit, LinkedIn, and several airline reservation systems simultaneously. The current proposal? Stop correcting. Let the clocks drift. Accept that over the next 1,000 years, our official time and the actual position of the sun will slowly, quietly pull apart. We built clocks so precise they've outrun the planet. The official time of the world is called Coordinated Universal Time, UTC. It is maintained by the International Bureau of Weights and Measures, outside Paris. It averages the output of about 450 atomic clocks across 80 laboratories in 50 countries. No single clock is official. The average is official. Even the name is a compromise. English speakers wanted to call it cut. French speakers wanted tuck. They settled on UTC, an acronym that belongs to neither language, chosen specifically so no country could claim it. The Greenwich meridian still sits at 0 degrees longitude, but the line it drew still divides the planet in half. Britain's time no longer runs the world, but Britain's geography still does. China is the clearest example of how time zones remain political. China spans 5 natural time zones, roughly the same geographic spread as the continental United States, which uses 4. China uses 1. In 1949, the Communist Party unified the country under Beijing time. 1 country, 1 time. In Xinjiang, in the far west, sunrise doesn't arrive until 10 in the morning in winter. The official clock and the sun are hours apart. Many people in Xinjiang run on unofficial Xinjiang time, 2 hours behind Beijing, aligned with the sun. 2 clocks, 2 times, 1 country. The same problem British train stations had in 1845, not solved by logic, solved by power. Check the time again. That number was set by a committee in Paris, averaged across 450 atomic clocks, based on a meridian chosen because Britain won a vote in 1884, adjusted for a wartime emergency from 1916 that nobody has gotten around to removing, expressed in hours and minutes inherited from ancient Babylon, and synchronized to your device via a satellite network that corrects for Einstein's theory of relativity, because at orbital speeds, time actually runs slightly faster. You glanced at it without thinking. That's the trick. The system is designed to be invisible. Not because it's simple, because the people running it need you to trust it without asking questions. Nobody invented time. They just convinced everyone to agree on whose version to use. And the ones who got to decide, they're still deciding.